the Art and Spirituality Show, number 23 or number 22, who knows? On today's show, I've got a very special guest, a, a Israeli method actress, a comedian, and a self-confessed clown. Eden Avital Alexander is joining me on the station today. Also my housemate, people. That's how she can be here. So don't be saying, hey, what's going on? It's tier 3. Why does he have someone in the station? She's also my housemate. Eden is a trained actress. She has trained with Rada. She has trained with Lispa. She has trained with Lambda. She's a world-class performer, performing on stages such as Glastonbury. She joins me in the studio today. Let's talk arts.
Online, on the iOS and Android, on your mobile phones. Great speakers conversation around the globe. This is Relaks Radio.
It's time for a show on Relax Radio. Talks about me and you. It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. So listen to us, yeah, 24 hours. And let the happiness continue on Relax Radio. Tune in to Relax Radio.
Relax Radio. Yes, yes, yes. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show, the Art and Spirituality Show. And welcome to my guest, Eden. Eden, you're on air with us.
I am. Hi. It's so funny. You don't realize how many things you've done until someone presents you.
Yes. Yes, my 45-second summary of your life there, Eden.
I like it. I like it. And your jingle kind of thing. Tune in with the funness.
It was quite upbeat, wasn't it?
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Oh my God. Yeah, I didn't even realize kind of how much of a performer you were until I asked you to be on the show.
Yeah, you get a lot of times performers or actors, especially musical theater somehow. It's like that's what I do and that they are. And
Yeah.
I think with me like that I don't know, maybe because I've been doing it so long, it's just yeah, that's what I do. And that's my job.
Absolutely, and I didn't actually mention it in the introduction there, but I think your main thing that you kind of want to be known for is that you're a physical theater performer, right?
Yeah, I've done a lot of physical theater, and I specialize in. I did Lecoq, and I specialize in it's Jacques Lecoq. It's
Yeah.
a French thing, and I did Laban, which I basically have a diploma with body language analyzing.
Yeah,
Uh,
very interesting.
Usually, when I say to people, there you go, they adjust their sitting automatically. It's like, am I okay? What is my body language actually doing?
Yeah, no, definitely, definitely. Yeah, but I always do notice that with body language when people when I just out there when we were taking the photo before the start of the show, I even said to Hafsa, I was like body language because she had her arms folded like this, you know. It's always an interesting one, I think. But yeah, it must have been so interesting for you to study something like that. How long was the course, and how did you hear about it?
So I started doing Laban back in Israel. I had a director of a show that basically he taught us Laban in order to approach our characters.
Yeah,
And then when I did my master's at East 15, that specialized also at Laban. We had a Laban teacher. And then I found LIMS, which is an extension of a school in America.
okay,
And I did it in Belgium. It's a modular study, so every time it's 2 weeks, and it's basically kind of a whole day thing. So since the morning until
Cool.
like 6-7 p.m., we just do Laban stuff and movement stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
And I think the main thing that many people don't understand about physical theater and about body analyzing, that it's not about what is right or wrong, but about what it tells about you as a person, and as
Interesting.
performers,
Yeah.
how we know what we do and what are our habits in order for when we get into character
Yes.
to change it completely.
Yeah, that's so interesting. It's always interesting to be able to recognize, be aware of what you're actually doing physically with your body, so that, as you say, when you're then doing a character, you can change your, your physical mannerisms, right?
Yeah, well, I think this is why it's very recommended for actors for every 2 years to do neutral mask,
Yeah.
because the neutral mask basically cancel, in a way, cancels this and just makes the body very apparent, and
Yeah.
every little twitch. Like there you go, a weird habit that I know I have. You won't see it in most of my characters, but
Yeah.
when I get nervous or when I'm doubting or really thinking, my toes start to move.
Interesting. Yeah.
And that's something that when I did the first time neutral mask, suddenly people notice that, like,
Yeah.
look at their toes. When it's something that usually when we walk on stage, people will not necessarily look at that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. I think as well, you often see people like tapping their feet, and I don't. And again, it's something I don't think a lot of people are even aware that they're doing. The foot tap, the foot tap.
Oh my, it drives me crazy.
Does it? Yeah.
Yeah, when people tap their or like start swingling their foot, I just it twitches my eyes straight away.
It does draw the attention. I think that's why it's so important to be aware of, what you're doing with your body, especially if you're on stage, because at the end of the day, the audience is going to be watching you, and everything should matter. Everything should matter.
Yeah.
You should be moving with purpose, essentially.
Well, it gets to the fact of, if you think about how you will hold a cup of coffee,
Yeah.
and how your character will hold a cup of coffee, because those little things come. So when I did Lee Strasberg in LA, we had one of our teachers. She gave me, basically, I have a page, 7 pages of
Yeah.
questions about the character.
Okay. Interesting.
And every time when I get into a character, I will answer those questions, even if it's a small character. And then once you get into those little things that the character experience, automatically will change those little habits.
Yeah.
And the way that they hold their coffee, the way that they hold their pencil, the way that they smoke their cigarette, because all of us, like, there are a lot of people that do that,
Sure.
how they will hold it.
Sure.
And the little things of how do you get out of bed, how do you put on a shirt, and it
Yeah.
will be very different from person to person because of those little things.
And it strikes me because well, obviously I know that you're a method actress, but it strikes me that when you're going into a character and you're creating a new character, because one of the characters you have is a character called Juanita,
Yeah.
which is quite a fun character. I checked out some of Juanita's stuff online, and yeah, very 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 funny character. And I know this character was informed from the group that you were performing with, the Club de Formage, right?
Yeah. So Club de Fromage has basically a storyline. Most of the people that come to the club, they don't know that there's a storyline. They
Yeah.
just come to party.
Sure.
But we do have a storyline. And Juanita, well, at the start, when I started with Club de Fromage, I didn't have an actual character. And then one of the girls that used to work with us, Mary, she said, like, try to think of a storyline. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm Tony the Mobster illegal daughter
Right.
from somewhere, from a woman in Mexico, and then I came just to help my brothers in the club, and kind of there's a whole you won't see it when I'm on stage. I will just dance, but then when I dance, there's even the fact of Juanita. I have these glasses, and it's like she has those teeth, and then even all the time keeping my teeth like that.
Yeah.
And the dancing, my dancing will be completely different, because a lot of her, she's very, you remember Prince of Bel-Air?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you remember Carlton
I
when he
do.
was like
I do.
goofy dancing.
Yeah.
So that's Juanita. She's basically goofy dancing until it comes to salsa, and then she's like getting into that very much, and kind of very dramatical, but
Yeah. Yeah.
comical, weird way. So yeah, it's fun to dance as her.
Wonderful, wonderful. Hey, listeners, folks, wherever you're joining us today, we're talking to Eden Avital Alexander. Hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly,
Yes.
my Irish accent. And if you have any questions for Eden today, you can give a call in, or you can send us a WhatsApp. The number is 078 52 And I know that we have some avid listeners that listen in every week. Even before we ask for questions, they have already sent us in. And one of these questions has already come through from our number one listener in Dublin, in Ireland, Mr. Ivor. Ivor Kelly has sent us in two questions, in fact, for you. So
Okay.
I'm going to read out the first one for you right now. He says, two questions. The first one is, does your guest get any dance movement inspiration from animals?
I do.
Interesting. Good question.
It's a very good question. Um, you probably done it as an actor. We have a lot of time as actors. When we do animal work
Yes.
and kind of finding as a character what is the animal character, what is as people, what is our animal character, and
Yeah.
what is our anti-animal.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to dance, every animal will have its own beat or beats.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it also comes with the habits of how fast we move or how slow we move.
Interesting. Yeah.
And I know that something that I worked for a long time was because sloth is like my anti-animal.
Okay, it's your anti-animal. Interesting.
I can like slow. It's so slow, and a lot of time I worked about walking so slow.
Okay, great.
And with some of my characters, when are older, I automatically go to the sloth movements.
Ah, interesting. Interesting.
Yeah, and I think with some dancing and some choreography, nature and animals definitely give a lot of inspiration. Even looking at trees and then seeing the leaves moving and
Yeah.
butterflies suddenly coming and disappearing,
Yeah.
and using it as inspiration for the choreography.
Cool, cool, cool. Well, great question there. Great question, Ivor from Dublin. I'm going to go ahead and ask his second question right away, and then we'll move on. Then we'll move on to more things. So the second question he asks is, and does she ever forget she has a physical form when dancing, as in form of flow, like a shaman?
Always.
Oh, interesting.
That's my thing. Um, I mean, a lot of times when I will dance, in parties or in raves, and
Yeah.
I will be the one that's standing next to the speaker,
Yeah,
and I just let
the music
I
kind of
let
takes
them
you away.
it whatever the body does, the body does.
I like
I
that.
do not control it. There is actually a movement technique, I will call it,
Okay.
that is called five rhythms.
Yes, I've heard of five rhythms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So five rhythms basically work on that idea
Yeah.
about the fact of even that as actors and physical performers, you can see sometimes when you start five rhythms, mm, a lot of us have body parts that we won't necessarily use,
Yeah.
or ways of body movements that we won't necessarily use. And then five rhythms just take you. And if you have a good instructor, they won't say specifically a name, but they will say, remember your hands, remember your feet, remember your
Interesting.
chest. And
Yeah.
then you kind of incorporate everything and just allow the vibrations of the music take you.
I love that. I love that. And isn't it fascinating how, music has its own vibration as well. And how when we're listening to music and we get into dancing, that we can really get, transported away and go on this like kind of cosmic journey into our minds and just kind of, as you say, well, not as you say, as I say, away with the fairies a little bit. It's kind of like the music just kind of takes you. And I think that's something really powerful about music and dance for that reason.
It is, and it's well, a lot of I think now it's pretty much known that you can use music to adapt the way that your brain work with
Yeah,
different rhythms and different themes, and different frequencies that will be frequency of love or frequency of joy or frequency of abundance.
sure, sure.
And then listening to the music and allow the music kind of, I think a lot of people, for example, will go to parties and will be on the influence of a substance,
Sure.
where if they will try to go to a party and properly enjoy, if it's a good day DJ,
Yeah,
it will take you to a journey. It will take you, there will be a storyline.
definitely, definitely. And I think that's why Five Rhythms and also the ecstatic dance movement
Yep.
has been so powerful and has been so influential on the dance world,
And good
because,
psytrance as well. I mean,
pardon?
good psytrance as well.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, what I really like about the whole five rhythms thing and the ecstatic dancing is that you go there and it's like, hey, look, there's no alcohol served at this. It's literally like you go there and everyone's sober. It's like, okay, we're just gonna have water. We're gonna have 4 hours of music, and we're gonna take you on a journey. And
And
it's
cacao, a lot of time cacao.
sometimes cacao is there as well. Sometimes cacao is there as well. Hey, we're going to take a short break. We're talking to Eden Alexander Avital, and she's an Israeli method actress, a comedian, and also a physical theater performer. And it's great to have her in the studio here today. If you have any questions for Eden, if you have any, thanks to Ivor for that question. Those two questions there, they were great.
Yeah, thank you.
You can give a call in or a message in. It's 078 And yeah, we'll be right back after these messages. Please join us then.
Relax Radio. Whoa, Relax Radio. আপনি হয়তোবা জানেন না যে রেডিও অ্যাডভার্টাইজমেন্ট ইজ 4 times more powerful than any other media. রিল্যাক্স রেডিওতে যদি অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করতে চান তাহলে আমাদেরকে আজই যোগাযোগ করুন on 020 7474 9292 আমাদের সাথে অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করুন from £99 a month. Increase your business by advertising on Relax Radio.
It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. Listen to us, yeah, 24 hours. Let the happiness continue on Relax Radio. Tune into Relax Radio.
It has been too long. No one has taken the initiative to know who you are and what you do. Well, Relax proudly presents Relax Media to unite and expose all media related personalities under one umbrella. If you are an artist or maybe you're looking for one, look no further. Log on to www.relaxmedia.com. RELAKS media.com. In return, you get a free webpage and exposure to wider fan appreciation and contacts. Also, optional personal manager. Don't delay. Relax Radio.
The Art and Spirituality Show, and we're joined today by our very special guest, Mrs. or Miss, sorry, Mrs. I don't know where Mrs. came from. It was going so smoothly before that. Miss Eden Avital Alexander. Eden, you're in the studio with us. Sorry, I don't know where that Mrs. came
That's
from.
that's all right. I'm like, yeah, I'm married apparently. I'm like, you just wed me to someone. I don't know who he is.
I really don't know where it came from. I
Where
wish
he came from.
I wish I had an answer for that, but yeah, I don't. It's it's just some sort of a slip there for some reason. Let's use it as a joining point to my next question. Yes, yes. Yeah. So you grew up in Israel, in a town near Tel Aviv. You were telling me.
Yeah.
What was it like growing up as a performer there? Was there much options for you to perform and stuff like that growing up?
Um. It Well, it's a good question. So I started performing actually when I was 5. I started with dancing, and then I moved to acting.
Yeah.
Um. I got into acting actually because a mother of one of my friends talked to a very known director to open specifically for us
Right.
a group for like the 6 of us. And I just, for years, until I was 20 something,
Yeah.
basically, I continued, I stayed in touch with her until she passed away. Um, I continued performing with her and did theater with her. Um, but in Israel, it's very different. So the appreciation of theater and doing theater as kids is very different. It doesn't work the same as you have kids that are theater performance um, in England or in America, for example.
Yeah.
So a lot of my stuff were more independent things, and I did modeling, like catwalk modeling
Oh,
kind of
really?
stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
So I did that until I was about 15, 16, and um, wasn't really for me, but I did that, and I did a few kind of auditions for TV shows through that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I suppose, I mean, it must have been a way for you to kind of get on stage in a way, and to be performing, even though the actual modeling wasn't for you. I suppose it was a stepping stone to you maybe realizing that you wanted to be on stage and be a performer.
Well, I edited. I started doing modeling when I was 11. Um, it was That was the way back then as a child to go to do auditions.
Yeah,
A part of a modeling agency and auditions to the TV shows.
right,
Although you weren't allowed to be paid, so a lot of the payment was like through gifts.
right.
So I got vouchers for it sounds no, like vouchers for books and vouchers for the clothes that was modeling,
Okay,
etc.
sure.
Um, and yeah, the theater, but my heart was in theater
Your heart was in theater, and when did you actually start kind of studying theater and studying drama and stuff like that? Then were you kind of a
when
teenager
when I was 8.
when you're 8?
Yeah. And my director, she was it's not even a teacher, she was proper director.
Yeah,
She was really strict with us. She was proper thespian, and we needed to come like everything black so we can adapt to be other characters, and no logos and no allowed of dragging of chairs, to be used to being backstage when we were on shows.
yeah. And this was Devora Miller, right?
Yeah, Laura Miller.
She's I think she's passed away now.
Yeah, may she rest in peace.
May she rest in peace. But she was, yeah, she was a. I remember you were telling me when we were talking about this the other day. You were telling me that she was like super strict in terms of like she was like do everything, by the book. And this was like strict training, and like you guys were like 8, so
Yeah,
like it was
but
kind of crazy to be under that strict training when you
well,
were just kids.
well, we had one of my friends. She came once and she had like a logo on her black T-shirt,
Yeah,
and she sent her to the toilet, and she's like, "Go put it on the other side." And every time that she could see a bit of the logo, and she's like, "Yeah, of course you can see the logo."
yeah,
She's like, "Tell your mother to get you a proper black no logo T-shirt." But I can. She's a she was a proper thespian theater classical, like, actors will know what I mean, because
yeah,
there's
absolutely,
you can see definitely now with COVID and everything, you can see the difference between people that are classically theater thespians
100%. Yeah.
on compared to the new age, I don't know, even camera acting, like it's very different.
Big time, big time. And I wonder now, I'm just curious now, were your parents, were they always supportive of you going into that type of thing? Were they artistic as well?
No, no, not at all. My father used to be an orthopedic at the ER,
Okay.
and he had his own clinic. And my mother, she's now a manager of a hospital, but she used to be a surgical nurse.
Yeah.
Um, and my grandparents used to be artistic, like my grandparents used to be painters and all that. So they saw, my father saw with his parents how much of a struggle there is as an artist.
Absolutely. Yeah.
For them, it was obviously after World War II, and then coming from Europe to Israel, so it's different times. Um, and I left what I told you, the modeling and acting, for a few years between like 16 to 18. Other than ceremonies at school,
Yeah.
I didn't do any acting or any performing, because my mom told me, well, there isn't money in that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then at some point, after I finished my military service, 21, I came to her and I told her, well, if you look at the biggest millionaires in the world, a lot of them are actors. So
I rest my case. I
Yeah.
rest my case.
But yeah, well, my sister took me a lot to auditions and practiced the lines with me when I was a kid.
Nice,
Mm.
nice, nice. Well, it's great. It's great when you get some support, from wherever it comes from. Hey, we just received another question through,
Okay.
so I'm gonna ask it as they come through because sometimes we receive a lot of questions, and it's good to kind of stay on top of them because otherwise it's like it gets to the end of the show, and I'm like, oh, there's 15 questions here, and I didn't ask you any of them. And we have to listen. We have to answer our listeners, right?
Yeah, yeah,
It
definitely.
isn't. It's nice for us to converse. I was going to say it's nice for us to chat, but obviously we have to appreciate it. It's not just us in a room. There's a whole world out there listening to us.
Yeah, we actually, yeah, it's not just us sitting in the living room talking. People
No,
actually,
exactly.
it's like the fly on the wall have questions.
Yes. Well, fly on the wall. We have a question from Mark, who's from London, and Mark asks your favorite or most memorable role.
Um, well,
It's a big question.
it is because there are some roles that affected me more emotionally,
Yeah.
and were really difficult and hard to get into, and they were challenging as actors. For
Yeah.
example, I played once Mary Jesus' mother
Wow.
after his crucifixion,
Whoa.
um, in a play called Women of the Tube, or at least adaptation of it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
emotionally, just to the method of getting into the body, I
Going
was
there.
the women that performed with me. If you ask them now, like as we joked about preparing and getting into the character, I was sitting there 20 minutes and just shaking a fake baby
Oh wow.
and like holding my tummy is where my baby would be.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I never had a baby.
Sure.
And but just the body of and imagining and getting into what she will feel about
Yeah.
seeing her boy that she got by a miracle
Yeah.
basically being dragged and tortured
Yeah.
and just in front of her eyes, and
In
she
front of our
can't
eyes. Yeah.
do nothing. um so emotionally that was, I think, the most challenging I had,
Yeah.
because losing of a baby, that's
Yeah. That's probably the saddest thing in the world right there.
yeah. But then there were parts that obviously will be more memorable when it comes to how much, like how many people are in the audience, or
Sure.
more memorable because of um those moments that you feel as a performer or as an artist,
Yeah.
I do something that is important,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
with the Red Brigade. That's something that for me was, I'm doing something with my art, I'm saying something.
Yeah.
And
You does a message beyond this performance, or this performance is part of a. It's bigger than me.
yeah, and it means something. And I remember, like, when we had when there was Extinction Rebellion,
Yeah.
um I don't, do I need to give backup for people about the Red Brigade and Extinction Rebellion?
I think I'm sure our listeners will know about the Extinction Rebellion. I'm sure they'll be like, okay, yeah, we remember maybe even we have some listeners who were part of the Extinction Rebellion. If you were part of the Extinction Rebellion, by the way, folks, we'd love to hear from you because that's a very topical subject for Eden. It's something that you were involved in a lot, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, so yeah, if you want to get in contact, again, the number is 078 52 473 473. And by the way, Mark, thank you for your question. It was a great question there.
Yeah, it is a great question.
Yeah, it was a good one. It was a
Yeah.
good one. And yes, yeah, I suppose, yeah, give us a little bit of background in terms of how you got involved with the Extinction Rebellion, and then a little bit on the Red Brigade as well.
Yeah. So mainly I got involved with the Red Brigade specifically.
Sure.
A guy that I performed with and got to know in Panama,
Yeah.
Doug Francisco. He arranged this performance as a declaration of basically we are all have the same blood.
Interesting. Yeah.
And it signified a lot of things, but it was basically to come and with our art and with performance to support the people that set every day protesting in order for governments to take action,
Yeah.
because we live in this universe, we live in this world that we need to take care of. And I think a lot of times there's a lot of the fact of NASA and government will try to find different solutions of different unit like globes or to
Sure.
live on instead of taking care of what we already have.
Exactly.
Be
Yeah.
grateful for the earth and the globe that we already have and take care of that. And um, a lot of the basically as the performers, we did live statues of different emotions that were and what we felt when it comes to love, when it comes to happiness and what we want to see,
Yeah.
or when it comes to anger, when we seen people dragged in the street. And one of the performances that I really remember, well, there were two. One of them we came to perform on the London Bridge, the actual London Bridge, and
Yeah.
people were there protesting. And suddenly, all the commotion and all the the police happening and all that, and suddenly there was a minute or two of silence, and basically everybody just sat on the ground and watched us perform
Wow.
and support this. And even the police, like make sure that everybody kind of like
Respected.
yeah. And
Amazing.
it was a beautiful moment. And then in the last day of when the protests of the first Extinction Rebellion happened, we walked in the street towards Hyde Park, where everybody gathered from all the corners that there was the protest.
Yeah.
And I remember that when we arrived, there was a beautiful moment that suddenly from nowhere came this group of drummers, and they started drumming and walking kind of with us.
Wow.
And I've seen protesters while we were walking, because we were not talking, we were not nothing, we just stayed in our character,
Yeah. Yeah.
walked together. And the protesters were basically cleaning the things that cleaning the street with proper like water and soap and leaving no trace.
I love that.
And then the drummers started singing while we were walking. They started screaming, well, not screaming, like singing, "We are all together."
Yeah.
And it was beautiful to realize that when there's something important as humanity, we can actually unite and do something, and realize that we can be one, we can be everyone together. And
Yeah.
I started crying, and I like I couldn't control it.
Yeah.
And I mean, one of my friends that is also a photographer, he was for the news, like taking pictures.
Yeah.
um and he literally took like striking faces, he called. He took a beautiful picture of me with the tears, and I'm like, oh my god. And as performers, we think, oh my god, he caught me with it, with the crying, it doesn't look
Yeah.
official.
He got me out of character there. Like,
Well,
yeah.
the whole moment, I was just so touched.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's beautiful. I love that story. That's a really beautiful story. And I think it's yeah, I mean, if anything, it really captures the weight of the movement of Extinction Rebellion. It's like, look, we got to stand up. We got to do something now. We gotta take a stand. Otherwise, there's gonna be nothing left.
and the power that we have as artists.
Yep.
As artists, I think in all of history, a lot of times when there was a government that is doing something that is a bit dodgy,
Sure.
the first ones that were shushed was the
Was the
performers.
artist absolutely?
Because they will come, and in an artistic way that people will think, oh my god, this is such a beautiful art. And then they will give food for the brain, they will give something to think about. And I think that as performers, we have this amazing ability of giving something to think about.
Definitely, definitely. We can comment on society, and we can comment on society in a way that is entertaining for our audience, and at the same time we can put a message in there as well, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, we're going to take a short break
Cool.
because I want to make sure that we give our audiences a chance to do other things. But we will be right back after this short break, and this is a really interesting conversation that we're having today. We're talking to performance artist, physical theater performer, method actress, and a comedian. We're going to get to the comedy, folks. We're going to get to the comedy. She's based in London. We're actually housemates. That's how she's in here today. We're not breaking the rules, people. We're not
Keep it
breaking the
tier
rules.
3. Keep it tier
We're
3.
keeping tier 3 going alive. So, yeah, we're going to be right back after these messages. Please join us then for more art and spirituality. We'll be right back.
Relax Radio. Whoa, Relax Radio. আপনি হয়তোবা জানেন না যে রেডিও অ্যাডভার্টাইজমেন্ট is 4 times more powerful than any other media. রিল্যাক্স রেডিওতে যদি অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করতে চান তাহলে আমাদেরকে আজই যোগাযোগ করুন on 020-7474-9292 আমাদের সাথে অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করুন from £99 a month. Increase your business by advertising on Relax Radio.
It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. So listen to us, yeah, 24 hours, and let the happiness come to you on Relax Radio. Tune in to Relax Radio.
It has been too long. No one has taken the initiative to know who you are and what you do. Well, Relax proudly presents Relax Media to unite and expose all media-related personalities under one umbrella. If you are an artist, or maybe you're looking for one, look no further. Log on to www.relaxmedia.com, RELAKS media.com. In return, you get a free webpage and exposure to wider fan appreciation and contacts. Also, optional personal manager. Don't delay. Relax Radio.
The Art and Spirituality Show. Welcome back, and thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope you're enjoying the show as much as I am, as much as we are. It's fun. It's so great to have Eden, Avital, Alexander on the show with us. Eden, you're back on air with us.
Hi.
Hello.
Breathing there with you.
Yes, breathing. We're breathing the same air, but we're housemates, so it's fine. It's okay. I keep on saying that. Yeah, but I wanted to get to some of the questions that I had prepared today. To ask you, I suppose, as a performer, there's a certain amount of spirituality that goes along with being a performer. And I was curious to know, I mean, I kind of already know the answer to this, but I was curious to know from you, how much spirituality has kind of influenced you as a performer.
I'll tell you the issue that I have with that definition,
Good.
spirituality.
Good.
For a lot of people, spirituality is kind of like, hippy dippy kind
Sure,
of thing.
sure.
And yeah, in the past you had even, women, usually women kind of considered as witches and being hanged and burned because
Sure.
of stuff that are spiritual. And a lot of time you will see people that are considered this like, whoa. But then if you properly look nowadays, 21st century, we are more developed. And if you look at science proves a lot of those things that we consider as spiritual,
Yep.
very factual.
Absolutely.
And well, it started with Einstein and with Tesla, and
Yep.
a lot of stuff that we consider as spiritual energies, vibrations, the way that our body work, quantum physics. That's there are actual facts, and physics proves that
Exactly.
it's true.
Exactly. Yeah.
So to define myself as spiritual, well, I don't know. I am, because people will consider it spiritual, but then
You're also just
it's
human. You're
it's
just human.
but
Like,
it's very factual.
yeah,
I believe in physics. Like,
yeah,
you drop something, it falls.
yeah,
So I think the fact that I have my father, may he rest in peace, all the time laughed at me about the fact that when I was a kid, I always add why. If you give me a reason why,
yeah,
if I needed to do something, why? If you give me a good reason why, I will do it.
yeah,
But if I don't have a good reason why would I do it?
yeah,
I don't get it.
yeah,
So the same with spiritual stuff. It's like, why? Why should I do meditation? It's like, oh, okay, that makes sense, because psychologically we do that. Visualizing, if you can't, like, there's actual psychology say,
yeah,
if
yeah.
wishful thinking, and you think something and then you attract it and you behave in that way and you attract those things to you. Quantum physics, you send that vibration, those things will come to you.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, no, I think you've got a valid point there. So I had a guest on the show on Monday, and he was saying something similar insofar as he was like, oh yeah, like I use these things to work on my mindset, and he was like, I have these affirmations that I say, and these mantras that I use in order to maintain my mindset. And he said, I was using these things like 10 years ago, whereas now these things are called being mindful. But when I was using them, he was like, I was just using them. I wasn't thinking like this is being mindful. Whereas I think mindfulness is kind of a bit of a buzzword now. And I agree with you. I think, yeah, the word spiritual is so loaded. For example, the guy that we got coffee from before we came on the show, from Mono, just next door. Hi, Adam. If you're listening to the show, thanks for tuning in.
And thank you for my hot chocolate.
And thank
It
you for
was
my
lovely.
espresso. It was lovely. we said we'd give you a shout out. This is the shout out. This is the only free one. If you want to advertise, you gotta call the number.
Well, his hot caramel chocolate was worth it.
I have to
Yeah.
say the coffee was very good, Adam. It was very, very good coffee. So there you go. We've given you your shout out, Adam. But it was interesting because he said to us, he said, "Well, what's the show?" And I said, "Well, the show is the art and spirituality show." And he was like, "Okay." As soon as I said spirituality, this was kind of a buzzword. And he was like, yeah, I could tell from his reaction that it was like, okay, this is quite a loaded word, and it has so many connotations for so many people.
It scares a lot of people. I don't know if it's because it's kind of dealing with the unknown, or the reputation that it has from many years, but I don't think it should be that way. I think it's something that should be common. You have a lot of schools nowadays that teach kids, instead of sending them to be punished, they send them to rooms to do meditation.
Yeah,
And they have a room in the school that basically the kids go to do meditation, and to relax, and
yeah,
basically kind of have a breather. And when we say to someone, whoa, have a breathe, uh, that's it. That's mindfulness, that's meditation, that's what it is. Just breathe.
definitely, definitely. I think you're right, and I think it's. I feel like there's a bit of a movement going on right now where we're actually there's a spiritual movement, there's a mindfulness movement happening where, as you say, they're no longer sending kids to detention. They're actually sending, kids to go and meditate. And I think that's, in a way, I feel like that's spiritual growth. It's like recognizing a different way to deal with people's anxieties, to deal with people's mental health, giving people different tools.
Yeah, and to base it, I think if a lot of us would have been educated as kids about the fact of you're not being sent to punishment, you're just having kind of a reset moment.
Yeah, we're giving you some downtime. We're giving you some you time for you to connect with you.
Yeah, and I think it's something that is important as people, um, which I think COVID-19 kind of allowed it to a lot of people, because before everybody was kind of very hectic and kind of running after their own tail, trying
Yeah,
to reach some goal. And if you go on the tube would all the time be busy, and people like,
it was very go, go, go.
yeah.
Yeah,
And I think COVID-19 allowed a lot of people um, to actually find time to find themselves.
to reflect.
Yeah, it's sometimes scary, obviously. Like, it means that if people were running all the time from themselves,
Yeah,
having the time to suddenly be, okay, wait, it's me, and listening to me, then it was very hard to a lot of people to kind of face those shadows.
yeah, I suppose you're right. I think it was a time where, and it is a time where people are, they're by themselves, and they're having to kind of, reconnect with themselves and actually disconnect from the hamster wheel of life, and being a little bit more kind of in tune with themselves. But yeah, I want to ask you actually about some of your recent roles, because I know that you played the part of Jasmine in a recent production, right?
Yep.
That was that this year?
It was last year.
Oh, it was last year.
Yeah.
Okay,
Am I allowed to say the name of the production?
I hope so. Yeah,
Yeah. So the production was named Sex and Disability.
yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm like, come on, you've seen my stand-up comedy. I'm very non PC, and I usually curse a lot. So I'm
you're doing
maintain
well. You're doing well.
I'm maintaining myself. Um,
You're doing well. I don't think that. I don't think that. Okay, radio gods. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying sex and disability on the
okay,
radio.
that's good. I'm like,
Yeah.
love making and disability. So yeah, I played there basically a carer. The guy that wrote it, Damien Darkness, he was is after a brain stroke, and him himself has his own disability,
Yeah.
which inspired him writing that play.
Interesting.
And very, very, very rarely a play, let alone a musical, will touch the fact of disabilities.
Big time. Yeah.
And we had half of the cast, maybe even more than half of the cast. No, yeah, half of the cast were people with some sort of disability,
Yeah.
and all great performers. And I played the care of. There was me as the lead, and the guy that was basically a wheelchair user,
Yeah.
and it was talking about the fact of how sometimes I tweeted yesterday a tweet of someone that was saying a guy came to her, and she's a wheelchair user, and he literally came to her and told, you probably would have been um had I'm trying to rephrase it in a
Yeah.
way that I can say
Let's
it. Yeah,
really
but
rephrase this.
basically about the fact that she would probably had more get
Right.
more guys
Sure. Sure.
if she wouldn't been
Oh
in a
my god.
wheelchair.
What a thing to
And
say.
I seen it, and I'm like, what? What was that a move? Was he thinking that that's a move? What the? And then
Stupid comment to make.
and basically the musical was talking about that, about
Yeah.
the fact of a lot of times are people with disabilities considered as uh, um, sexually attractive, or is it okay, is it not
Yeah.
okay? And then of course in there, because I was the carer, there was the question of, as a carer, and that was my main question as my character,
Yeah.
where does the boundaries between being a carer and actually having our own feelings and our own emotions,
Sure.
where do you draw those boundaries?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And I must have been. I mean, it must have been a very interesting character to play as well. I haven't seen the musical. What was the music like? Was all the music written for it
Yeah,
specifically for the show? Yeah.
yeah. So Demi Darkness wrote the whole play and the songs and everything.
Yeah.
And a girl called Mishkin Bird, she wrote the music for it. And I actually have it on my YouTube.
Great.
The whole musical, if people want to watch.
Oh, fantastic.
I know that now in TR3 there isn't much live theater, so
Definitely. I
so
mean, I
if
think
yeah.
that's a good cue. I think that's a good cue. I'm sure that Harry's posting various different graphics and things while we're talking about things today. But yeah, definitely they can check out your YouTube. What's your YouTube?
Just my name, Eden Avital Alexander.
Get on there, folks, and you can check out that musical. I want to talk about another performance that you did as well. I think it was last year as well, in a play called The Engagement.
Yeah. So the engagement, well, they had another production that was at the same time that I did Sex and Disability, so I couldn't be on the second version of it. But the first version was oh my God, was it 2.5 years ago?
Right.
Um, and both of the production were in Brighton.
Yeah. Where
Um,
you used to be based?
yeah, I used to be based there for 2.5 years.
Okay.
And basically the engagement is well, based on a true story
Yeah.
of a guy, Wayne Liversedge is also an actor, um and one of his friends was also a performer and a writer. James Alexander Allen wrote it as a play. I
Yeah.
think they're now creating perhaps a film out of it, but it tells his own story about the time that he dated a girl uh, who was an alcoholic.
Yes.
So my character in there, Jerry, I was playing an alcoholic, and it was very challenging to play, on the stage, playing the drunk on the times that it was drunk, and playing
Yeah.
the
Must have
love
been.
scenes, and also the fact of kind of hiding it, and having literally having a secret, but trying to show the struggle that people have, whether it's mental struggle and behind alcoholism, and what leads us to that. So yeah.
And where did that play actually run, Eden? And when where did it run? At what theater did it run in
um
Brighton?
yeah, so we performed it at the Rialto Theatre.
Okay.
When they did the second version, it was at the Bread and Roses Theatre
Okay.
in London.
Yeah.
The Rialto, I love that space. They support a lot of theater companies in a very good way. I got to perform there a few different productions, um, and we got sold out with the engagement, which was amazing. Um,
Fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank you. With Sex and Disability, also we got sold out, but we performed that. Well, it's more of the Purple Playhouse,
Yeah.
um, and yeah, the engagement, when it comes to physical theater performance and actually getting into someone else's, that was where my background with physical theater definitely came to use, with
It really
playing
paid off.
someone with that is intoxicated, or
Yeah.
someone that
Yeah.
is just after a hangover, and then the different movements and the different beats and rhythms of the highs and the lows.
I can imagine. I
Yeah.
can imagine. Yeah, that sounds really interesting. I like, just going back to what you were saying about the Rialto theater and how they're very supportive of the arts and things like that. I like when spaces are open to kind of supporting the arts. And I know, for example, that you're an advocate of the whole time exchange.
Yeah. um well, I worked with the Ugly Duck.
Yeah.
I don't know if they actually, yeah, COVID-19 tier 3. But the Ugly Duck basically have spaces that are sort of property guardianships,
Yeah.
and they hire their places for performances, for exhibitions, for filmings, and a lot of their stuff, I came as an usher,
Yeah.
or as a bartender a few times.
Brilliant.
And in return, for every hour that I worked, I got, first of all, to see the performances and see the exhibitions, which
Excellent.
all of
Yeah.
them were amazing, and I love the stuff. They're lovely, like Katie and Dean. I'm like, they're great.
Good people.
They're great people.
Yeah.
Um, and I got, in exchange to the time that I gave, I got 1 hour use of their space.
Very cool.
And as you know, rehearsal spaces, especially in London, can be expensive, especially that size. It can get to 50 quid per hour just to rent a space. So the exchange is a great, like, way to time bank.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I know someone else that you're connected with is also an advocate of the time exchange, and that's Kieran Doswell, right?
Yeah. Um,
How did you meet him? And yeah, how does that story go?
so
Tell me the story of this other thing.
I got injured at Glastonbury performing with Club de Fromage. I teared ligaments on stage, but had a kids show on the Sunday, so I stayed
Yeah,
during, like, from the Friday evening until the end of the festival. I stayed with the crutches in Glastonbury Festival. Luckily, a dry Glastonbury that year.
yeah, yeah. Nice, nice.
And on the Saturday night, I went to a performance of my boyfriend at the time with a brass band called BYOB. And then backstage, while he was talking with BYOB, I was sitting and talking to one of the poets that is from Brighton, and Kieran Doswell, and we got to a conversation about spirituality and energies and time
There it goes.
exchange.
Yeah.
And he basically he reads a lot. He's such a smart man, seriously.
Yeah.
And we got to talk about the fact of time exchange and how as a society to move towards that direction of time exchange and knowledge that we have and experience that we have in order to gain stuff. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry,
No worries.
instead of money
Yeah. Yeah.
as we know it. And then with tribal, through him I got after that to tribal gathering.
Okay, so he was the connection that brought you into tribal gathering then.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
So I worked after I got to meet him at Glastonbury, and after that, well, I came with my robo leg. I had on my leg, I call it my robo leg, but I
Yeah.
basically had like a how you call it, a support kind of thing.
Yeah, for your knee, right?
Yeah, it looked like a proper robo leg. Which is interesting. People's reactions to that. But I got to go with that to work with him at Boomtown because he's in charge of the Whistler's Green, which is very
At the Boomtown Fair. Yeah, brilliant.
yeah, which is very spiritual orientated, all the area of Whistler's Green,
Yeah.
and got to work there in the office with the organizers of tribal gathering
Very
while
cool.
they were in England.
Oh, cool.
And then through that got to, from working in the office with them, got to come to Panama to do tribal gathering.
And you've done the tribal gathering in Panama twice now, right?
Yeah. So the whole idea of tribal gathering is people coming from all over the world and sharing their culture.
Yeah.
So you will get a lot of spiritual experiences and people coming for that, but also people coming just to party and for the music because they
Sure.
share also the different music from around the world.
Yeah.
And I got to work with them both on the admin crew, as part of their financial team and as a performer.
Cool.
So last year it was before I got to perform with the cabaret. And this year I got to actually organize the theater there and kind of within 2-3 days got to contact performers that were already there,
Cool.
and we build basically a program that every day was a different performance. So I got to arrange that and make sure that all the stage management of this, like the light and all that,
Yeah.
is being done properly after the circus performances, which was a different stage.
That
And
must have been a fantastic experience and such such good such good skills background for future events and things like that as well.
yeah, definitely. Well, I got to bring there actually two characters from my performance of Midsummer Night's Rave, which one of them is Stella, and the other one is Granddad.
Oh, Grandad. Yeah, I was going to ask you about Grandad. We're going to take a short break, and then
Okay.
after the break, we're going to have a conversation with Grandad. I'm looking forward to introducing
Okay.
Grandad to the world on air. So, well, please join us after these short messages for more art and spirituality. Thanks very much.
Relax Radio. Oh, Relax Radio. আপনি হয়তোবা জানেন না যে রেডিও অ্যাডভার্টাইজমেন্ট ইজ 4 times more powerful than any other media. রিল্যাক্স রেডিওতে যদি অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করতে চান তাহলে আমাদেরকে আজই যোগাযোগ করুন on 020-7474-9292 আমাদের সাথে অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করুন from £99 a month. Increase your business by advertising on Relax Radio.
It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you.
age and exposure to wider fan appreciation and contacts. Also, optional personal manager. Don't delay. Relax Radio.
The Art and Spirituality Show. Welcome back, and welcome back to our guest who's joining us in the studio today, Eden. Hello, Eden.
Hello.
Yes, really, really interesting stuff, I have to say, hearing all about your different projects. And isn't it amazing how, when you're talking to one person about something which is kind of on the same wavelength of things that you want to do, that doors can open and it can really lead to the next project.
Definitely. I think even Sex and Disability, I got it through doing a different project with that same man 2 years before.
Yeah.
And I did it. I had it that year during the Brighton Fringe. I had about 3 different shows. One of them was the kids show, one of them was a cabaret,
Yeah.
and his show. And then I was also filming at the same time Star Wars, because I was one of the soldiers in that.
Oh, fantastic.
And then the mud troopers. And then, like, in between the filmings and the rehearsals and everything, I got to kind of straight from filming come to rehearse with him. And it was, at some point I was thinking, should I just drop that part? And I didn't.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, the director that I had, she was amazing. She found a way to kind of um through the rehearsals find out time to rehearse my parts, that it won't affect the rest of the parts. And then after that, it came to the fact that Demian contacted me and offered me the part in Sex and Disability.
Brilliant.
So by not dropping that, I kind of manifested the production a few years after.
Yeah, yeah. I love that sort of stuff. And I know that you do use vision boards and stuff like that, don't you? And you're one of these people like myself, and I think like a lot of other artists who use like vision boards and manifest things into their lives, right?
Yeah, very much. I'm specifically addicted to visualizations, meditations,
Nice. Yeah.
and kind of, I don't know if it's called tricking our brains or adapting our brains to kind of get used to thinking something and then we just get it.
I love that.
So
Yeah.
with acting, for example, I knew that I want to have a PhD.
Yes.
And when I auditioned to get my bachelor's degree, at the start, the first year, I auditioned only to Rada and Lambda, because those were the only schools that I knew of.
Yeah.
The year after, and I didn't get in. And the year after, I auditioned, I checked more schools, and Rada, Lambda, Rose Buford, East 15, Central, all the big ones basically.
Yeah.
And I got accepted to Rose Buford, to the BA degree, the international one.
Brilliant.
And I got accepted to East 15 to the masters,
Fantastic.
because of my experience from all the years of performing. They
Yeah.
told me, okay, your audition was great. If we put you in the bachelor's, you will have more experience than them. Send us your CV, everything that you've done. And basically, from my experience of actually performing all these years,
Yeah.
I shortened my if you do a BA and MA, 4 years, 5 years, and I
Sure.
just
Sure.
short in 1 year.
Wow.
Done.
That's fantastic.
MA, yeah. So it's when talking about visualization, got there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I want to talk. I feel like a medium. I want to talk to Grandad. I want to talk to Grandad. Can we get Grandad here, please? But
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, you called. You talk. Yes.
Grandad,
Yes.
thanks for joining us, Grandad.
Yes, you're welcome. It's very, very hard now in tier 3, because I'm not really allowed to go out and commute with people and communicate.
And
But can you hear me?
yeah, Grandad, I can hear you okay. And Grandad, let
Okay,
me
good.
ask you, how are you how are you coping in tier three? What's
Well, it's very good question. So Eden, the girl that you're interviewing, she created for me this corner, and people can send me questions, and then I answer their questions. I also have the people here at the home, so we sometimes we can play bridge together because we don't come into contact with anyone else other than each other.
yeah,
So we're allowed to to come in contact with each other, and I have my friends who are lovely ladies, and sometimes we do stuff together, and
like
it's nice.
like bridge and dancing, I suppose.
Yes, yes, like playing bridge, and you can call it like that. Yes, that's fine. But yet, I know we're on the radio, and I'm not supposed to say, but it's also I'm a gentleman, and we don't talk about things like that. But people send me questions, and then Eden said that whatever I answer, she posts it, and then I can tell them my thoughts because I'm very good with giving advice. I've been in the war. And I have been through things, and I have experienced it, and I can tell people what, because in the war, we had many experiences that people don't have usually.
Yeah,
I used to be a pilot parachuter.
you were a pilot parachuter.
Yes, so basically, I was flying the plane, and then I parachuted, and while I parachuted, we had tomatoes back then because there was a big problem with getting ammunition. And what my job was to find the target and throw the tomatoes in their eyes,
Wow.
and then the enemy could not see us. Yes, they couldn't shoot at us. So that was I was the pilot parachuter with the tomatoes in the bag. And I was very known and famous for what I did. But back then, you learned about humanity and about what people can go through. And this pandemic, I've been through pandemics before. I've been through many pandemics. This is just another one. We
You're
will get through
you're
that.
you're 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 a professional pandemic there. Professional pandemic. That was Grandad joining us. Grandad joining us in the studio. In the studio. Yeah. So that's a really fun character. A really fun character. And I know that you know that you've posted a lot of videos of Grandad on your Instagram, right?
Yeah, I recently started to. So I about a year ago, right after Sex and Disability, I joined a rigor mortis tortoise company.
Yeah.
So they had, well, we have an adaptation of Midsummer Night's Dream, but it's called Midsummer Night's Rave.
Yes.
And then when I read the script, grandfather was a small character, and we did it very ensemble like, and none of us after the ensemble was created had a part, and we just each of us tried the part,
Yeah.
every part, and then we did like Joshua, that is the director, um and he's also a performer. He They decided about who gets which part.
Sure. Sure.
And when I seen the script, Grandad was just mentioned for a second, and there was like a little joke about him, like saying something because he was just mumbling.
Yeah. Yeah.
He doesn't speak.
Sure.
That's the
Sure.
whole show. And I just said this could be such an amazing character.
Yeah.
We should put more of Grandad, like write
Yeah.
more of Grandad to that. And then he actually became a bigger role. So I had Stella, which is our version of Bottom,
Yeah. Yeah.
which I played, and I did Grandad. And every time came with a different vegetable and eating a different vegetable. And then when it came, just pulled out a banana from my different weird kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
buffon comedy artist stuff. Um, and then when there was the performances at Tribal Gathering in Panama,
Yeah.
um one of the nights we did, because there's a between the first week of the tribes to the last week of the psytrance, we have a transition day, no music, no nothing.
Yeah.
So we did an event of basically transition day, so everybody was like, guys are girls, girls are guys.
Okay.
So I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, if I'm gonna be a guy, I'm gonna be Grandad. and I was hosting a competition of trends. So guys needed to do actions of girls and like putting a bra, girls need like
Yeah.
taking a bra off, and girls needed to do actions of guys.
Fun.
Yeah, and it was just funny. And I was hosting it as Granddad, and my managers literally they saw me walking as Granddad, and they're like, "Who's this old man? Is he okay? Is he lost?" And they didn't realize it was me.
Brilliant.
Um, and then we had another date night that we needed someone to be one of the competitors,
Yeah.
and we didn't have anyone, so I did him, and people loved him. So I thought, okay, well,
He's been born. He's been
yeah,
born
he
now.
he
He has
he,
a
he
life of his own.
developed. He developed.
Yeah, it's great. And I think as well that I suppose through your kind of characters that you developed, it must have fed into when you started doing stand-up comedy, right?
In a way, yeah. Well, stand-up comedy, to be honest, it was, I find it still more scary than acting. I got into that after the former tribal gathering,
Yeah.
because I just saw on Facebook an advertisement of, do you want to learn to do stand-up comedy? And it was through Alter Comedy, and to do it, it was for to fundraise money for Cancer Research UK.
Yeah, great cause.
So I thought, okay, I can do something that is good and also learn and try a new skill. Might like it, might not.
Yeah.
Um, and I quite enjoyed it. Like, I met amazing people in there. We had a sold out performance, so we succeeded to fundraise the money that we needed.
Yeah.
Um, and it was interesting that actually, because stand up comedy is kind of, it's like a therapy, isn't it?
Yes.
I'm joking at a lot of my shows. It's like sorry, I'm here because I don't have money to go to therapy,
Sure.
and it's basically we like people come, and instead of sitting at the psychologist's room, you just talk to the audience.
Yeah.
Especially in America. In America, it's even more like that.
Yeah.
Like, I got to see it in New York in January, and it's more that way than in England. But it's very much kind of, this is what I experienced. Let's joke about it, and I will allow you guys to laugh about it with me.
Hopefully it's funny as well. Hopefully it's funny as well. Hopefully it's therapy with some jokes in there. You know,
Hopefully,
it's
yeah,
not just
yeah.
it's not just someone kind of complaining about their life, so to speak.
Well, you'll be surprised, because sometimes the people that are actually like properly complaining, if you properly get to the just spilling it over, people start to laugh. Maybe the awkwardness, maybe whatever, but you just laugh at people's misery in a way.
It can be very funny. It can be very funny. We've run out of time. We've actually run a
Oh,
good bit over the time here. I got so carried away talking to you because you're such an interesting person, and the conversation has been so nice.
thank you.
Yeah, you're
I enjoyed
welcome.
it.
Thanks for coming in today. You know, it's great to have someone in the studio because I've been doing so many interviews over the phone, and it's just nice to have somebody in the studio with me, and rather just like a voice on the end of the line. You know.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, definitely. And I wanna just ask you before we have to say goodbye to you. I want to ask you, you know, what are you working on right now? Have you got some upcoming projects coming out?
Um, yeah. So the guy from Rigor Mortis Tortoise,
Yeah.
Joshua, he wrote a musical that is called Life, that was supposed to be taken on stage, but he's now taking it as a film, perhaps, project. So
Okay.
I'm trying to help him with that. Might take for one of the characters for the filming, at least when we send like parts of it to production companies.
Yeah.
I just finished filming a music video,
Great.
a comical one that is like a parody about Ed Sheeran's The Shape of Who, but instead it's The Shape of Pooh. Um,
Oh God.
so that's now being edited. I just finished filming it, and for now, yeah, Granddad. I mean, I'm
Granddad's fun character.
it is, and people, I got a couple of questions that people sent me. But definitely, whomever listens, like, yeah, send questions to Granddad.
Yeah. You can. By the way, you can follow Eden on your Instagram. Your Instagram is
um, at EALEXANDNDE. So E Alexander, but without the R. So
Without the R.
if you
Without
ju-
the R. There's
if you
no
just
R.
if you just write Eden Avital Alexander, it's just me. I had to actually add my middle name because there's a porn star that took my name.
She's not the porn star,
I'm not.
folks.
I'm not.
Not the porn star.
No.
I wanted to I wanted to mention at the very end of this interview, I wanted to mention you became famous in 2014 for walking a man in a suit on the street in rush hour London. And Twitter went into a bit of a frenzy about it, didn't they? Because there was a lot of people on there. They thought that it was actually a real thing. They thought, oh, this is a real person taking her husband for a walk. And you were like, no, I'm an actress. It was a stage, it was a street performance, peep. Hello, world. This is called acting.
Yeah, I still have followers actually. Well, luckily back then I didn't have Twitter, but I think like news from all around the world were in a bit of
Yeah.
a hustle after that, even in Israel. And my cousin put a post about like, look what happened in London, and then my sister commented to her, you know that it's your cousin, right? She didn't recognize me, and it was interesting to stay in character while that is going. And for me, what I saw a lot of different things. I saw a lot of the fact of people rushing in their suits, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
what is going on behind the suits, and how many stuff do we actually take pictures of rather than confront.
Yeah,
Or at least back in the days, it was 2014. Nowadays people are so used to that it probably will be on social media that they do
probably.
react.
Probably.
And I had only one woman confronted me, but it was so interesting to actually stay in character
Yeah.
and to tell her. And I didn't call him a dog, no husband, no nothing. I'm like, yeah, I'm taking him for a walk. And she was asking me, you shouldn't be doing it, and started screaming at him like, don't, you don't need have to take it, you don't
Yeah.
have to take it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm like, well, what do you want me to do, to leave him at home? And needed to literally stay in character
Yeah.
for 20 minutes and
It's a
see.
great video. I have to say it's a great video. I think it's a real yeah, I just think it's because it's it's something because I mean it's something that would probably normally go on behind closed doors that you wouldn't normally see, out in public. To see something like that in public, of course it's going to be misunderstood. Of course it's going to be misperceived.
Yeah, but I didn't even know it was a fetish. I didn't know people had. I'm so vanilla. I'm seriously. I'm so innocent about those things. I
A
didn't
lot
know
of
it's
people
people's
are.
fetishes, and that people will come to me and ask about being a dom, or people will. A lot of people talked really badly about him, and he got really scared about doing something with that project after, which is something that as actors talking about spirituality and keeping our spirits up.
Yeah.
Um, I know that there's an actor from Game of Thrones that he was playing one of the evil kings, and he left acting because people hated him after.
Wow.
People literally hated him.
Yeah, it's the power. It's the power of media, though, isn't it? It's the power of media. People see. I think especially like when people get so invested in things and they think something's real, and it's like, yeah, I think actually a great example of that is Ricky Gervais's Extras. Do you remember Ricky
Oh,
Gervais's
I love
Extra?
that show. Yeah.
It's a fantastic show, and of course it was like they always, they had the actor Sean, the actor from Barry from EastEnders, but they always introduce him. It's Barry from EastEnders, It's kind of. I think that was the joke on it. It was like, hey, this is like people see you and they see you as your character. They don't see you as the actual, the actor. They don't, they see you, and the same for you when you were playing this woman, taking this man for a walk. They were saying, "Oh, is that actually your husband?" Like, it's like, why would you, why would you be filming yourself walking down the street
Yeah.
if it was real life,
But that's the thing. I was seeing because there was a homeless person. Well, I don't know if he was homeless, but he was a beggar.
Okay.
And he was in the same level as my director that I was walking on a lead.
Yeah.
And all those people, rush hour, Farringdon, just walking in their suits and not even looking at that guy sitting in there.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, how much do we need to do to actually get people attention when people are so much in hectic life?
Yeah. True.
And
True.
how long did he sit in there on the ground, and do people actually look at him? Because they looked at my director when I walked him,
Yeah.
because he was on a lead or because he was on all four and not just sitting there.
Sure.
But how many things do we not notice because he doesn't scream at us?
It doesn't. Yeah. It doesn't stand out from our everyday I suppose, conditioned field of vision, right?
Yeah, and I think that that project for me told a lot of many other things, even though a lot of my followers now are looking for dominatrix or
Okay.
whatever and keep asking about my stuff, and even when I have my vlog, they keep commenting about my vlog. One of them, like, three of them keep talking in Spanish and like, mas pero, do you have more of the dog? And I'm like, well, no, I don't,
It
I
was
don't.
one acting piece that I did 6 years ago,
6 years,
people.
yeah, and it's and I don't even have the copyright for that because I'm just the performer.
Exactly,
I
exactly.
was paid for one performance. It's not my project. It's not my
Yeah.
copyright. It's someone else. Leave
Yeah,
the fact that someone, actually, one of the guys that his picture became the most famous,
right,
he claimed copyrights
right.
on my picture,
Oh my God.
and he got from all the news. They paid him money for the picture that he put and posted on Twitter,
Right.
and he actually commented to people, "That's my picture. You can't use it with I have copyright." And I'm like, "Well, mate,
That's
I'm
me in the
in it.
picture.
I'm in
Like,
it.
I'm
And
in
if
the
I want,
picture.
and if I want someone else to put it, they can put it. All's fine. You can spread. That's fine."
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
but I think there are many important subjects through that came up. Even the fact of a lot of people commented after that. Well, they were really angry because they thought that it was for real.
Sure, sure.
But what would have been the reaction if it was the opposite way around?
Yeah, and I think it's interesting, like when we do touch on these yeah, these kind of controversial subjects, and we bring them into the public eye. It's interesting to observe people's reactions, isn't it?
Yeah, and
Y-
and
You
and
know?
are they giving any reactions, or are the reactions very kind of, well, back then it was very down low,
Yeah,
and you wouldn't express in, and everybody kind of in the London bubble, like looking, maybe taking a picture and then continuing, but not really confronting.
not really connecting.
And I was really proud of the woman that confronted me. I was
Yeah,
thinking, yes, well done. Like, if we see something that is wrong in society, we should say something. And as actress, it was such a challenge to, even though as Eden, I agree with her,
yeah.
um, as my character, to stay in character and to not agree with her and kind of confront her in a way of, well, of course, what do you mean? And
Yeah.
um it was very interesting, and still now, to not take personally people's reactions.
No, you can't. You can't take it personally. You can't take it personally. I
Yeah,
mean, just everyone's gonna have an opinion at the end of the day.
yeah.
Hey, listen, we've run out of time. We ran out of time a while ago, but it's been such an interesting conversation that I've struggled to say goodbye.
Oh,
Yes,
well,
but
well, we will continue the conversation on the way back home. It's just that we won't have the fly on the wall. It's going to
exactly,
ask.
exactly. Thanks so much for joining me today. It's been a real pleasure having you on the show. And yeah, I know that I know that we have. I know that Harry. Shout out to Harry, our station tech. I know that he's been posting all your links and everything.
Oh, thank you, Harry.
Yeah, while we've been talking. So yeah, we're gonna take a short break, and just want to say thanks again for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. We'll be right back after these short messages. Please join us then for more art and spirituality.
Relax Radio. Oh, Relax Radio. আপনি হয়তোবা জানেন না, যে radio advertisement is 4 times more powerful than any other media. Relax রেডিওতে যদি অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করতে চান তাহলে আমাদেরকে আজই যোগাযোগ করুন on 020-7474-9292. আমাদের সাথে অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করুন from £99 a month. Increase your business by advertising on Relax Radio.
It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. So listen to us, yeah, 24 hours, and let the happiness continue on Relax Radio. Tune in to Relax Radio.
It has been too long. No one has taken the initiative to know who you are and what you do. Well, Relax proudly presents Relax Media to unite and expose all media related personalities under one umbrella. If you are an artist or maybe you're looking for one, look no further. Log on to www.relaxmedia.com, RELAKS media.com. In return, you get a free webpage and exposure to wider fan appreciation and contacts. Also, optional personal manager. Don't delay. Relax Radio.
The Art and Spirituality Show. Well, thanks so much to my guest today, Eden Avital Alexander. She joined me in the studio. And yeah, it's true, she is also my housemate. So that's how I could have her in here in the studio with me for tier 3. And yeah, what an interesting guest. What an interesting guest. You know, she's been in London, I think, for 10 years now, and she's been involved in so many different projects. You know, she was also featured in an Imelda May video and in a Rag and Bones video as a background artist, but all the same was in there. And she's also been involved in many different projects, which we didn't even get to talk about them all. She mentioned there that she was in Star Wars as well. And we didn't even get to talk about everything. As you can see, we ran over time. We went for an hour and 27 minutes, and it was supposed to only be an hour. Shh, don't tell anybody. But it's been a great, really interesting show today, talking all about her various different projects. And isn't it interesting how, you know, when you do see an artistic piece, how it can have an undertone to it, where it has a hidden message or it's a comment on society. I think Sacha Baron Cohen's new film, of course, the second version of the film, is a great example of that. You know, insofar as it's commenting on a society in America, and I think a lot of art is very good at doing that, isn't it? It's you know, it can have in a performance where you're watching something and you're like, hey, this is great, I'm really enjoying this, but then there's also a message behind it. So that's kind of quite interesting when artists do that. And I think actually, as artists, you know, if you are a performer out there in the world and you are doing some piece of theater, it's almost a responsibility to comment on what's happening in society. I certainly feel like that when I go on stage and I do comedy. I like to comment on what's happening in my reality, and you know, make jokes, make the funny about the things that are happening in the world. It's so important to do. It's so important to do. And as Eden was saying, you know, when governments are doing stuff which is a little bit dodgy, it's oftentimes it's the artists that will comment on these things first. And you know, they'll be the people that will be shut down. They'll be the people that will be quietened, quieted, quieted. They'll be the people that will be silenced. You could say first, because I think as an artist, whether you know you're a painter, you're a writer, you're a you know a singer, a rapper, whatever your mode of performance is, I think you have this platform, don't you? You have a stage, you have an opportunity to share, you have an opportunity to you know to actually do something and spread the word and get a good message out there. And it's a privilege, it's a privilege as a performer, it's a privilege to be able to have that medium to get messages out there. So yeah, it was really interesting talking to her about that art piece that she did. And I liked what she said as well about how it drew attention to the beggar or the homeless person on the street. You know, insofar as people are busy, they're in their daily lives, they're on the hamster wheel of life, they're rushing from A to B, C to D, E to F, and they're not necessarily looking down. They're not necessarily, their eye lines are not drawn down. to somebody who's begging on the street. And if they do look down, they don't necessarily pay too much attention to them, because it's like, hey, I've seen X amount of homeless people on the street already today, and so it's a common occurrence. But drawing attention to somebody who's homeless or someone who's begging, I think that's it's quite an interesting tool, if you can use an art form, if you can use a street art performance to shed light or to bring someone's eye line down to a different level, to bring attention to a different perspective, and to bring attention to a societal issue that maybe isn't being addressed. I was reading an article there in Dublin. In Dublin, they are hanging. Residents of Dublin have hung a lot of coats on the Halfpenny Bridge in Dublin. They've hung a lot of coats for the homeless and needy people of Dublin. Now, Dublin has a massive homelessness problem, has done for many years, but it's very, very apparent in Dublin when you go back, when you see the amount of people who are homeless. And this gesture of hanging all of the coats on the bridge, on Halfpenny Bridge, it's a great thing that they've done. But what really needs to happen is for the Irish government to build more houses, and for them to be more houses available, and for them to deal with the homelessness problem which exists in Dublin, and which has existed for a long time. So it's good when you see stuff like that, because it's like, okay, this is drawing attention to the homelessness issue. Now what we need to happen is for something to actually, happen on the back of this, and for this to be a catalyst for change, right? So yeah, that was an nice little interesting point. Folks, it's the 16th of December today. Is it the 16th? No, it's not the 16th of December. I'm struggling with my dates. Oh, it is the 16th of December. I'm not struggling with my dates. It's nearly Christmas. It's rolling around. It's rolling around fast. Are people excited for Christmas? Are you a Christmassy person? Are you excited? Maybe you're Hanukkah. Maybe you're a Hanukkah. Maybe you're a Yuletide. I received a lovely card from my friend in Berlin, Stephanie, and she sent me a lovely Yuletide card, which was quite nice to see. Are you getting excited for the Christmas time? There's a lot of different things happening before Christmas. If you're looking for an online stream, if you're looking for some theatre to watch online, there's a fantastic show happening on the 18th and 19th of this week. It's with Pearson Theatre Productions and Damien Tracy, in association with SNS Theatre Productions. And this is called Stay Awake Jake by Tim Gilvin. Tim Gilvin. And this, I had James Pearson as a guest on the show a couple of weeks ago now, and he was telling me about the show then. It's going to be on the 18th and 19th, and it's on the Southwark Playhouse Theatre. I'm pretty sure Harry is sharing the graphics with you now. There's three different performances. It's on an 7:45 p.m., 3:15 p.m., and it's on over 2 days, and it runs for 70 minutes. 70 minutes. Get your ticket for that. Only £15. Get your ticket for that. That's going to be a fantastic production, live streamed with an orchestra as well. So yeah, that's going to be a great thing to check out. I'm going to get my ticket for that. It's on the 18th and the 19th. I'm going to get my ticket for the 18th. I'm excited. It's going to be good. A nice little shout out for that. Uh, Stay tuned for our penultimate shows. We're having a show next Monday. When I say shows, I'm talking about my own show, of course, the art and spirituality show. We will have a show next Monday where I'll be interviewing Mo Kelly, Irish artist Mo Kelly. She's a DJ. She's also a painter. Super interesting lady. So I'm going to be interviewing her on Monday, and on Wednesday I'm going to have a very special guest. I can't reveal who it is yet, because I've yet to definitely confirm that he will be available. I'm waiting on an email response from him, but hopefully hopefully have an update for who that guest is going to be. An Irish writer. Hopefully I'll have the update for that on Monday. I'll be able to announce it on Monday, and then folks, we'll be breaking for Christmas. I'll be taking a break from doing shows for the rest of December after the 23rd. I'll be taking a break probably until January. And in January, I'll be back for more art and spirituality shows, hopefully. And yeah, I wanted to say a warm thank you to my guest today, Eden Avital Alexander. Thanks for coming in, Eden. It was fantastic to have you on the show. Thanks to all the questions we received today from Mark in London, from of course Ivor in Dublin. Thanks for tuning into the show. And yeah, it's been a lovely show today. Very very nice show. I hope everyone's looking after each other out there. I hope you're practicing compassion, practicing kindness, patience, and love for yourself. And as Thich Nhat Hanh was saying when I read out his mantra on Monday's show, to practice presence with each other, to practice some mantras with each other, or yourself. You can also practice them in the mirror. Dear one, I'm here for you. Dear one, I'm here for you. I know you're suffering and I'm here for you. And I think these are great things to remind ourselves of in this Christmas period. Sometimes, the Christmas period can be quite difficult for people. I'm speaking for myself more than anything. And so I think it's important that we check in with each other. We find that that each other are doing well, and we listen to each other. And most importantly, that we're just patient with each other, especially in the street. When you're walking in the street and people are rushing by, and people are rushing from A to B, just to be a little bit more mindful of people. I'm speaking for myself here, to be more mindful of people in the street, and to be more compassionate, and not take offense, not take anything personally. Someone rushes past you, just to say, okay, go on your way. I wish you well. I don't mind that you stood on my heel. I'm sure it was an accident. It normally is. I don't know anyone that's out there purposely standing on people's heels. That would be kind of strange if they were the heel stander, the hill stander. Oh, the hill stander has struck again. The hill stander has struck again. The hill standers has stood on many hills today. People are complaining of the hill stander. No, 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 no. It's not like that at all. So yeah, so tune in on Monday. Tune in on next Monday when we'll have Mo Kelly. She'll be joining me via phone from Dublin. I'm excited for that. And yeah, we'll be back. Stay safe, everybody. I hope Tier 3 is treating you well. And yeah, thanks for tuning in today. I'm Dominic Anglim. This has been the Art and Spirituality Show. It's been a real pleasure to be here, and I'll speak to you all again on Monday. Until then, bye for now.
Relax Radio. Whoa, Relax Radio. আপনি হয়তোবা জানেন না যে রেডিও অ্যাডভার্টাইজমেন্ট is 4 times more